Chicago Fire officially undoes its best Severide story in years before it could even properly begin. Suddenly, Kelly Severide's Chicago Fire Season 14 story is less exciting after NBC officially undoes the character's best narrative in years. Throughout its over a decade on the air, Firehouse 51 has led the storytelling for the One Chicago franchise. Amid a lot of changes, however, Taylor Kinney remains at the center of its narrative. Despite being an ensemble series, Severide is arguably Chicago Fire's true lead. So many of his storylines are presented as the major plots that dictate the direction of the show. This has been especially true after fellow original characters, like Chief Wallace Bowden and Matt Casey, left the series. Coming into Chicago Fire Season 14, Severide is looking at the most exciting year ahead of him. This is not only because he and Stella Kidd are expecting their first child, but also because of other developments in his personal life. Sadly, however, one of those narratives is no longer happening after a shocking NBC news. Ahead of Chicago Fire Season 14's premiere, it has been revealed that Michael Bradway's Jack Damon is officially exiting the series. Despite being a fairly new addition to Firehouse 51, the character has so much narrative potential because of his personal ties to Severide. Damon is Benny Severide's secret son, making him the half-brother of Kinney's character. Unlike Jake Lockett and Daniel Keary's respective departures as Sam Carver and Darren Ritter, which were announced before Chicago Fire Season 13 even wrapped, Bradway's departure is totally unexpected. Damon's last big story in the first responder procedural was officially coming back as a regular member of Firehouse 51. Now, however, that setup is already going nowhere. Besides the ridiculous back and forth for Benny's younger son, indicating that Chicago Fire never really figured out what to do with him, what's more frustrating is that it will never be able to tackle Damon and Severide's relationship. The NBC project barely gave any proper time to develop their dynamic. Every time things stabilized for them, something came up to disrupt their peace. Severide's looming parental journey with Stella is absolutely exciting. As One Chicago's premier couple, it's great that something good is heading their way after years of post-marriage struggles. However, this arc isn't entirely new. Chicago Fire has done a version of it in the past. Meanwhile, seeing brothers work side by side in the same firehouse is a novel concept. The Chicago Fire Season 13 finale didn't offer any kind of exit path for Damon. Based on reports, it doesn't seem like he's making another appearance in Season 14. His exit is already frustrating as it is, but the fact that NBC has to do it off-screen makes it a little worse. In a move that stunned loyal fans and left the Firehouse reeling, today's shocking news from Chicago Fire confirms that the show has officially pulled the plug on one of its most promising Severide arcs in years, just as it was beginning to find its footing. Severide's return and abrupt detour. When Kelly Severide, played by Taylor Kinney, returned after an extended absence, viewers were ecstatic. After months away at an arson investigation training program, Severide came back to Firehouse 51 more focused, more mature, and ready to embrace his role as a leader, not just on the job, but in his marriage to Stella Kidd, Miranda Ray Mayo. For the first time in seasons, fans saw glimpses of a man who had not only grown from his past, but was finally stepping into the mentor role once held by the likes of Chief Bowden. This promising character evolution was further supported by the introduction of a new subplot, Severide being offered a position to head a multi-agency arson task force in Chicago. It was a clear opportunity for the show to explore fresh ground with him. Severide balancing arson work with Squad 3, testing his loyalty to 51, and maybe even grooming a new squad lieutenant under his wing. But in what many fans are calling a frustrating backpedal, NBC has confirmed that the Arson Task Force story has been shelved indefinitely. And with it, Severide's biggest growth arc in years. Why scrap it now? According to behind-the-scenes sources, the decision came after last-minute creative reshuffling in preparation for Season 14. Apparently, showrunners felt the arson arc strayed too far from the heartbeat of the show, the daily camaraderie, danger, and emotional ties of Firehouse 51. They reportedly feared that giving Severide a more isolated or bureaucratic role would alienate viewers who prefer the in-the-trenches firefighting. May make sense on paper. Fans are questioning the logic of abandoning an arc that had so much emotional and narrative payoff potential. After all, Chicago Fire has explored non-traditional roles before. Take Casey's brief turn in politics, or Cruz's side hustles. Why not allow Severide to explore something that actually reflects his growth? Stella's story suffers too. The decision doesn't just affect Severide, it deals a serious blow to Stella Kid's journey as well. With Severide potentially stepping into a new level of responsibility, Stella's own command at Truck 81 was finally poised to shine independently. Their marriage had started to reflect a healthy dynamic between two strong leaders juggling demanding careers. Removing Severide's progression threatens to pull them back into the tired dynamic of relationship strain and vague disappearances, a cycle the show has already overused. In fact, during the latest episode, what was supposed to be a compelling conversation between Stella and Severide about balancing their ambitions ended in a generic, half-hearted exchange. "You belong at 51, Severide said with a shrug, handing over the arson file and symbolically shutting the door on his own arc. For fans hoping for a layered discussion about professional sacrifice, identity, and ambition, it felt like a cheap cop-out. Worst, it stripped Stella of the opportunity to stand beside a partner who was evolving, something she's been doing on her own for multiple seasons. A pattern of missed potential. Unfortunately, this is not the first time Chicago Fire has mishandled a major storyline involving Severide. From unresolved family issues to his on-again, off-again dynamic with Stella, the writers have repeatedly started compelling stories for him only to abandon them. Longtime viewers will remember how the show teased a deep dive into Severide's past when his half-sister Katie was introduced, only for her to vanish without meaningful closure. Or how his mentorship of newer squad members like Blake Gallo and Darren Ritter started strong before being quietly phased out. This latest reversal feels like more of the same, only more disappointing given the rare maturity Severide was finally displaying. Fan reactions, disbelief and frustration. Social media exploded this morning as the news broke. Why would you waste all that development just to put him back at square one? One fan wrote on Reddit. They finally had a path that made sense for him and honored his past. Another user tweeted, "This is why I struggle with Chicago Fire sometimes. Every time someone grows, they reset them to the old version like nothing matters." Even fan accounts that usually stay positive admitted this twist felt like a letdown. One commented, "The arson unit story could have been huge. Guest experts, overlapping cases, actual Chicago crime involvement. And they scrapped it before it even took off. What now for Severide?" With the arson plotline gone and no clear direction laid out, fans are left wondering where Severide's character will go next. While he's slated to stay at Squad 3 for the foreseeable future, the sense of forward motion is gone. Will he just keep responding to calls, occasionally brooding, occasionally smiling, but with no real emotional or professional stakes? Some speculate that the writers might pivot to a romantic drama again, maybe a pregnancy storyline with Stella or a surprise visit from someone in his past. But many feel that's a step backward. Severide deserves more than just emotional turbulence. One fan wrote, "Let him be smart, let him lead, let him be something new." Closing thoughts, a wasted opportunity. The show's decision to undo Severide's most promising arc in years is more than just a disappointing twist. It's a signal that Chicago Fire may be afraid of letting its characters evolve beyond the firehouse. And while tradition and team spirit are key to the show's identity, so is growth. Kelly Severide has been through trauma, loss, love, and redemption. He's earned the right to level up. But now it seems he'll remain stuck, boots on the ground, potential clipped, yet again.